My husband's friend hosted a creepy party where men were filming and laughing at girls eating the gross things they paid them to eat. Now I feel uncomfortable around them. My husband has this group of friends who he is very close to. They all grew up together and still see each other regularly. They've always been nothing but nice to me for the entire 3 years I've known them, and before this had never made me feel uncomfortable in any way. On Saturday, it was his friend's birthday, so he invited us to his party. At the party there was a table full of gross things like you would see on a survival show, and these men were paying some girls to eat them, and they were filming it and laughing at them. My husband intentionally kept me away from that side of the party, but at one point I needed to use the restroom and I couldn't find him after, so I ended up there. When I was there, this random guy came up to me and tried to get me to eat one of the nasty things. He was pretty aggressive about it. One of my husband's friends saw me and he told the guy not her, and then he asked me where my husband was and made a joke about how he shouldn't have let me out of his sight. He then stuck to me like glue until we found my husband again, at which point he whispered something to him and then left. I feel so repulsed and creeped out by the whole thing. I literally had a nightmare about the party. It doesn't help that I spoke to one of the girls and she said she had no idea this was going to happen before she got there. The dilemma I have is that we see them often. We're supposed to see them in 2 weeks, but I feel so uncomfortable just at the thought of having to be around them, especially the host. Honestly, I see them all differently now, and it's even made me see my husband slightly differently, even though he never participated. I feel like I'm doing a horrible job at explaining it, but the whole thing was extremely creepy to me. I don't know how to tell my husband this. Those friends are like family to him, and I feel like refusing to go will cause tension between us and make him feel like I'm forcing him to choose between me and his friends. There was a lot, but things I noticed were live insects, eyeballs, bull's testicle smoothies, and pig's uterus. I know there are probably places or cultures that eat this, and I'm not trying to insult anyone by saying it is gross, but the thing stunk really badly and I feel like they intentionally made the stuff look as disgusting as possible. I didn't eat any of it, so maybe it tasted better than it looked, but I doubt it based on the smell. They had labels with prices. Update: I was supposed to see them 2 weeks after my original post, but I got out of it. My anxiety was sky high and it made me physically sick, so I had a legitimate reason for skipping the event. It took me a long time before I actually gathered the courage to say anything to my husband about what happened that day, even though he had been asking me multiple times before if I was okay. When I first told him, he was super understanding and promised nothing like that would ever happen again. While he was upset when I told him I didn't want to be around his friends, he told me he understood and wouldn't force me. Also, he already knew what happened with the guy who approached me. His friend told him all he would say was that he had handled it and it wouldn't happen again. He continued hanging out with his friends separately, and eventually they asked him why I was never there anymore, and he told them. They did reach out to apologize/justify the party, but I never responded to any of them. Things were starting to get better until recently. My in-laws hosted a birthday dinner for my husband. I asked my husband if his friends would be there, and he told me it was just going to be family. When we got there, his friends were all there. I ended up leaving the dinner without telling anyone because I couldn't handle being around them when they were all trying to act like nothing had happened. I did text my husband when I was in the Uber, but he was pissed at me when he got home for leaving the way I did. We had a big fight and I ended up locking him out of our bedroom because he wouldn't drop it. He's still angry at me over what happened, but I'm pissed at him too. During the fight he said I needed to get over what happened and that his friends wouldn't hurt me.